Sweltering summer heat is back, and we have days of near record highs ahead. How long dangerous temperatures stick around, plus the storms you'll have to dodge this weekend.
RTP 3.0 takes off. Today marks the beginning of the future for Research Triangle Park. Why RTP as we know it is about to change forever.
And leaders in Cary are holding an emergency meeting in the next half hour, responding to a new state audit. It found that more than $1 million of taxpayer money was misspent. We'll take you live to Cary Town Hall. And thanks for watching WRAL News at 7. I'm Gerald Owens. We're talking about heat and the weather. Cary is catching heat from the state auditor, and whether or not RTP will be the new hot place to live. This is the newscast that wants to hear from you. So send your questions, comments, and feedback to 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. First up, if there was one weather graphic you pay attention to in this newscast, make it this one. The heat index for tomorrow, hundreds across the board with much higher humidity. Now look at Raleigh. It's going to feel like 107 degrees. That's why tomorrow's going to be a WRAL weather alert day. In fact, so is Saturday. Kat, we have some serious conditions ahead of us.
We do. Tomorrow we should hit 100, and it's going to be the hottest day in terms of the actual temperature tomorrow. Saturday, though, it's still going to feel as hot, even though the high is only 97, and that's because the humidity goes up. The heat index both days around 107, and that is why we issued WRAL weather alert days. For tomorrow, dew points are in the upper 60s. It's going to feel steamy out, but it is going to feel downright tropical with dew points closer to the mid-70s this weekend and into next week. But that tropical air could actually really help us out with rain. Today, there has been a code orange air quality alert for part of our area, including Wake County and Durham. There will be again tomorrow, and this is due to ground level ozone. We also have the wildfire smoke that is moving in from Canada. But the primary reason that we are under this unhealthy for sensitive groups air quality is because of the ozone instead of the wildfire smoke, which is creating a smaller roll. When you look ahead overnight, we're likely to see a thicker plume of dust continue to move in, and it should be at its worst in terms of the haze tomorrow. Coming up, we've got a lot to talk about, including the tropics. I'll have more on that.
We'll see you in a few minutes. Kat, thanks. Let's get to a story that's new at 7 o'clock. Some new motions filed in the Faith Hedgepeth case. Brian Schrader's in the Live Center covering this for us. Brian.
Gerald, of course, this has been a huge story in our area since 2012 when UNC student Faith Hedgepeth was found raped and murdered in her apartment. Miguel Salguero Olivares was charged in 2022 in the murder, and that trial is coming up later this year. Defense and prosecutors both have filed motions, new motions here this week. The state is asking the court to prevent pictures or video being taken of certain witnesses at that upcoming trial, namely the two women who lived with Hedgepeth. Another filing references genetic testing that helped investigators identify a suspect in the case. That trial is set to begin in September, Gerald.
The issue is not one purchase. It was the system behind the spending. That's your quote of the day from North Carolina State Auditor Dave Bolick. Today, his office released the results of its audit of the town of Cary. They uncovered a long list of questionable purchases, fueled by a lack of oversight. And in the next 15 minutes, Cary officials are going to face the public, answering questions about this report. WRAL State Government reporter Caroline Yaffa joins us live from Cary Town Hall before the news conference. Caroline, they have a lot to answer for in this report.
Gerald, they do, and this isn't just a report. It's 2,600 pages of questions the town of Cary has to answer. And we measured it. We printed it out, and it's 10 inches tall. And it's so large. It's one of the largest state audit reports that has happened in the last few reports. And it's because there's so many public records in this. Investigators found over $1 million of questionable purchases tied to former town manager Sean Stiegel. Here's a list of a few of them: ribeye steaks, Ray-Ban sunglasses, $800 car stipends for council members, $121,000 for video production at a retreat in Wilmington. And not only that, the report says Cary gave out government credit cards to 62% of its staff, accounting for over $24 million in transactions over 2 years.
It's time for the people of Cary to understand exactly how their money is being spent. What our team has concluded is and there's no better way to say it, that there's a cultural problem in terms of extravagant spending of taxpayer dollars in the town of Cary.
We should also note that the state auditor referred parts of this investigation to criminal investigators, and the Wake County District Attorney says this investigation remains active. Gerald.
Caroline, the town of Cary is going to discuss all this in a few minutes, but earlier today, they outlined what they plan to do in response. Walk us through that.
Yeah, Gerald, within the audit, there's about 15 pages that talks about what the town of Cary is planning to do next. And those recommendations include hiring an internal auditor, a compliance officer, looking at other financial issues and trying to address them within new policies. And they're also trying to take a look at what they can do better in hiring more internal advisors. Back to you, Gerald.
We'll be paying close attention to what comes out of that meeting. Thanks, Caroline. Let's get you caught up on some of today's big headlines. Here are 5 things you should know right now. The man accused of shooting 3 people outside the Wilson County Courthouse faces several new charges. Abdul Mustafa is now charged with attempted murder and shooting into an occupied vehicle. A woman and 2 law enforcement officers were injured. Mustafa's in jail without bond. He's going to appear in court tomorrow on the new charges. 2 other people are charged in this case as well. They're accused of helping scope out the courthouse beforehand. 2 more people face charges connected to the chaos on July 4th in Raleigh. David Lane and Amir McLean are charged with rioting, assault, and resisting an officer. Thousands of young people gathered in Glenwood South that night. 9 people were injured. Dozens were arrested. City leaders still discussing a curfew for kids aged 17 and under. And health officials confirmed 20 new cyclospora infections in Wake County. Meanwhile, sources tell NBC News that federal investigators are linking part of the multi-state outbreak to lettuce supplied to Taco Bell by a farm in Colorado. The lettuce is not linked to the outbreak in North Carolina, however. The Chatham County Sheriff has retired. Mike Robertson served the county for nearly 4 decades. Yesterday was his last day on the job. Robertson's retirement was celebrated during a ceremony at Northwood High School. Tonight, leaders in the Chapel Hill Carrboro school system will discuss the next steps for Glenwood Elementary. The board voted to close that school after this year. The board's going to discuss future locations for dual language and world language programs that are run out of the school. A decision expected by late August. In our area, there is always something new being built or plans being made to build something new. It's time for a developing story. Tonight, we're talking about Research Triangle Park. It's been around for nearly 70 years, and it appears some big changes are on the way. For decades, RTP was purely commercial real estate. But now the way is paved for retail, restaurants, and apartments. WRAL's Sean Gallagher looks into how this is going to work and how it may influence future investment.
Part of these new plans include adding housing, similar to what you see here behind me. They want to create that live, work, and play environment that will help with employee retention. But this goes way beyond that, offering flexibility for current and new businesses. And could that be the seed to help Apple plant its roots in RTP? For an area identified by innovation, the future of RTP will follow that same path.
So the world has changed significantly, and we need to keep up with that.
Keeping up requires RTP to evolve. For decades, it followed specific land use guidance, requiring businesses to operate under mostly single-use research and office facilities. But times have changed.
There's about 1,000 research parks that compete with us and innovation regions, and so we need to be able to be competitive with them.
RTP Foundation President Scott Leviton says these changes will draw and retain more employees to the area, giving them things to do, places to live, and ways to get around easier.
Put the people where the transportation goes.
And offer flexibility for businesses, because it's not 1959 anymore. Honestly, it's not even 2019.
We have companies who have identified, especially since COVID, that they have a lot of land and a lot of buildings that they don't need to meet their workforce needs today, 6 years later.
So how will that affect a project like Apple? The tech giant asked for a delay on job creation targets in November.
What are you hearing from them about this? And is this going to change anything about their future, what we're seeing today?
The folks from Apple have been very engaged and positive in helping us, as you heard, get to this collaborative result. And so they are very much engaged with us on planning for the future of RTP.
I have reached out to Apple about how these changes could affect their development moving forward, but I'm still waiting for their response. Now, this plan does include adding housing similar to what you see here behind me, but they've put a cap on how much space they can develop on. 500 of the 7,000 available acres can have housing like this. They want to make sure that the focus in RTP is on research. In RTP, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
Duke Energy wants to raise your utility bill. Meanwhile, they just received a multi-million-dollar reimbursement from the federal government. How should they use that money? Can they make those rate increases a little smaller? Or will that money just go back to shareholders? We ask the questions, their answers after the break. And stick around for tonight's One Last Thing. A month after saving Mr. Pickles from severe neglect, the veterinarians and law enforcement officers who saved him reunite with his very special Cocker Spaniel. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Let's talk about your power bill. We get emails all the time about Duke Energy, and they've actually been in the news a lot lately. Duke reduced their proposed rate increase from 18% down to 11.6%. Then a new report from a nonprofit showing utilities across the country are requesting record rate increases. And then this, a report that the U.S. government will reimburse Duke Energy $129 million to surrender leases intended for offshore wind farms. Let's address each one of these stories one by one. First, the rate increase proposal, down from 18% to 11.6%. This came after Duke got a lot of pressure from people in public hearings saying 18% is simply too high. So now it's down to 11.6%. But still, North Carolina regulators have to approve that. Next, that report about utility companies all over the country requesting rate hikes. Take a look at this graph and set your eyes on the far right bar for this year. According to a new report from a nonprofit, utilities across the country requested record rate increases this past spring, $9 billion in total. But let's zoom in on that third headline, the one about the multi-million-dollar reimbursement from the feds. And it takes us to a good question from Bill. Bill asked, how might that play into future rate requests, and might consumers benefit in any way? The Trump administration paid $129 million to Duke Energy to halt its federal offshore wind lease for the Carolina Long Bay project. That project was supposed to become an offshore wind farm capable of powering roughly 300,000 homes, but the Trump administration canceled the program. So now, what to do with all that money? Bill, I reached out to Duke Energy on your behalf, and here's what they told me. The investment in the Carolina Long Bay lease was generated from shareholder capital, not customers. Customers will benefit from reinvesting this funding toward projects that grow capacity and increase reliability, helping minimize the cost of financing these investments and helping reduce future rate requests. A lot of words. So let me see if I can simplify what they're saying. The money will be put toward things like nuclear and natural gas generation projects now so that they can keep costs and rate hikes down later. It's kind of like fixing problems in your crawl space now so that you aren't dealing with bigger issues with your entire home later. Is that a good analogy? I don't know. We've spent a lot of money on the crawl space at my house recently, so I'm trying to make myself feel better here. I digress. Bill, unfortunately, I don't have a specific answer for you about what this means for future rate requests. But short of reinvesting that money, what are the other options? A refund for us, for the Duke Energy customers? Let's go down that path for fun. If Duke Energy was to refund the $129 million evenly to all of its 8.7 million electricity customers, you're looking at a little less than $15 per person. What do you think about that? Is that what Duke Energy should be doing with the money, or should they be fixing their version of the crawl space, given the current demands on the grid and what's coming with data centers? I don't know. You tell me. 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. That is our email address. In the meantime, we will be keeping an eye on the current proposed rate increase of 11.6%. Utility regulators are expected to make a final call on the rate increase later this year.
Yeah, $15, that's a... All right, here we go. Here's what we're working on for WRL News tonight. Poor air quality mixed with extreme heat is creating dangerous conditions for vulnerable people. We ask Wake EMS what you can do to stay safe. That's tonight at 11 on WRAL. Meteorologist Kat Campbell back with us. Kat, we added up all that rainfall from the last 7 days and put it into the drought monitor. We have some progress to talk about.
We do. If you live in Johnston County, you know that. You felt that, especially Wayne County as well, parts of Sampson County, Wilson County, Franklin, even eastern Wake County. So areas like Wendell, Wake Forest, Knightdale, Fuquay-Varina all saw improvements moving from red to orange. And what that means is you went from extreme to severe drought. It's progress, but you are still in a drought, of course, and we remain under exceptional drought, which is the worst possible category up in the northern part of Durham County, Hillsborough, Roxborough, and Person County, and then part of Granville County as well. So a step in the right direction, not a huge stride. Did you know the wildfire smoke that we are seeing could actually enhance the sunsets? You can see some orange in the distance. Typically, they're really orange and the sun can appear red. So check it out. And if you see that tonight, go to WRAL.com/report it and send us your pictures. It's the way that the smoke particles actually kind of bend the light in the air. Fenton and Cary looking at a quiet night. No rain out there. 94 still with a heat index of 99. 95 in Fayetteville with a heat index of 100. And the heat index is 104 in Clinton. Tomorrow, the heat index will be even higher. We're back between 102 and 108 across our area, closer to 105 in the Triangle. The exact number there, 107. And again on Saturday, and that is why both Friday and Saturday are WRAL weather alert days. We declare a weather alert day when the heat index is expected to exceed 105 for consecutive hours. That could also prompt the heat advisory tomorrow, so check in for an update. But Saturday doesn't look much better than Friday, even though the actual air temp will be down a little bit. Saturday also features a chance for severe storms. It's a level 2 out of 5 severe weather threat, a level 1 threat in our southern counties. The setup here, it's hot, it's humid, we'll have a ton of energy. We won't have a ton of storms, though, probably. So any storms that develop could become severe with damaging wind gusts. Just keep in mind that the storms themselves, may not be all that widespread. The best chance could actually come Saturday night. Saturday night, we go up to a 40% chance of a storm. It's 30% during the day. And then Sunday, 92 with a 60% chance of storm Sunday. Don't expect to see much action on the radar tomorrow, but there's a small 20% chance. Saturday, looking ahead, it's likely to start out dry, and then during the evening, we could see a few pop-up storms, especially Saturday night. Some models are even showing a complex of storms dropping in from the north, impacting us during the early overnight hours. Not this one in particular, but I do think that's a possibility. Sunday, as we look ahead to the afternoon, much more active. The evening as well, with this front moving through. It's hot, it's humid, there will be a lot of energy. I wouldn't be surprised if we had some severe weather on Sunday. I think Sunday is going to be the worst of the 2 days in terms of the weather, so maybe plan accordingly. Just find a cool place to be if you're going to be outside Saturday. Next week, not so hot, but that'll come with better chances of rain and storms. By next Thursday, it is possible that highs could only be in the 80s. Now, we would certainly love to see that. Here's the thing about next week that I want to mention. The rain chances actually have tropical origins in them, and that's going to help to increase the potential rainfall totals. If you've got all that tropical air in place without an actual tropical storm or hurricane, you just get the tropical air that the storms can squeeze out. Best case scenario.
Yes.
We don't want a hurricane. We don't even want a tropical storm. We just want all the rain that comes with it. So this could help us out.
The last few weekends have been kind of carbon copies of each other. Really hotter on Saturday, a lot of rain on Sunday.
It's July in North Carolina. But you're right, the pattern has been unique for us. At least we've been able to squeeze out some rain on the weekend. So hopefully that continues. Just try to make your plans earlier in the day. If you have to be outside, that's going to be your best bet.
All right, thanks, Kat. Hey, that Cocker Spaniel with a huge social media following survived severe neglect and is now reuniting with the people who saved him. We have an update on Mr. Pickles in tonight's One Last Thing. One last thing for you tonight, a heartwarming reunion for a Cocker Spaniel rescued in Chatham County. You may remember Mr. Pickles. Chatham County deputies found him at a home last month. He was severely neglected. Staffers at an animal hospital had to remove 12 pounds of matted fur. Longleaf Animal Rescue is taking care of him now, getting him ready to one day be adopted. And today was a big step forward in that process. There's Mr. Pickles reuniting with the vets and deputies who helped him. They tell us it was a shocking case, and it was good to see him doing so well.
It was honestly the most shocking thing I have seen in my career. I feel like couldn't even see where his face was, couldn't see his feet. He was just completely matted.
He's definitely the worst case I've ever seen. I've seen things along the lines of it, but not to that severity. He has changed condition, behavior, personality, all around completely different dog. He's looking great today.
He was very timid from my understanding going into his rescue situation at first, but he's broken out of his shell and he's able to play with other doggos I've seen, get along with people, and he's up for adoption. So I'm hoping that a family comes through because he deserves that chance.
All right. Now, it is worth noting that Mr. Pickles was found in that home in Chatham County. When deputies went there to do a wellness check on the owner was actually found dead inside the home. We don't know how that person died. And while Mr. Pickles was clearly neglected, the woman caring for him today doesn't believe he was ever unloved.
Mr. Pickles' story is a trickle-down effect of a mental health crisis in our country. And Mr. Pickles was loved by somebody at one point who was in crisis and could not get the help they needed. And that's something that is that's tragic, and the animals see it. It is something that is really prevalent across our entire country, and I want to say that.
Now, there are a lot of people who want to adopt Mr. Pickles, so we are very confident that he is going to find his forever home soon. Thank you for watching our News at 7. Have a great night.